You boot up HackHub expecting to click one glowing hack button like every other movie hacker fantasy. And instead, you're staring at a terminal, completely lost on what nmap even does. By the end of this video, you'll actually understand the tools, the mission flow, and the mistakes that get new players caught before they even finish their first job. Let's get into it. What is HackHub? HackHub, Ultimate Hacker Simulator, is a single-player hacking sim from developer HotBunny, published by games operators and g-devs.com. It hit early access on Steam back in January 2026, and it's honestly one of the most authentic hacking games I've seen. It also has co-op and PvP modes if you want to bring friends along. Here's what makes it different from something like Watch Dogs. There's no glowing hack button here. You're actually typing real commands using tools that exist in real-world cybersecurity. Things like nmap, nslookup, and hydra. But here's what most beginners completely miss going in. This isn't an action game at all. There's no fast reflexes required. The entire game is built around observation, planning, and execution. If you're expecting twitchy gameplay, you're going to be disappointed. If you're expecting a genuinely thoughtful puzzle and strategy experience dressed up as hacking, you're exactly where you need to be. Story and setting. Without spoiling anything, you play as a hacker operating in the shadows of a surveillance-heavy digital world, taking on missions that range from small-time infiltration jobs to genuinely significant story arcs, including a well-known questline players refer to as the journalist's sister. Your choices actually shape how the story unfolds, and the narrative takes itself seriously rather than leaning on hacker movie cliches. It's less about being a superhero with magic hacking powers and more about being a believable digital outlaw slowly building a reputation. Core gameplay loop. Here's what you'll actually spend most of your time doing. Every mission starts with reconnaissance, scanning a network, identifying vulnerabilities, and figuring out your entry point. Rushing in blind is basically a guaranteed way to fail. Once you're inside a system, every single action leaves a trace. Logs update, firewalls react, and depending on the mission, timers start ticking. So the loop is really observe, plan, execute, and get out clean. This next mechanic completely changes how you should play. You're not just trying to win a mission, you're trying to do it without leaving a mess behind you. Sloppy, rushed hacking gets you flagged, and getting flagged has consequences. First things every beginner should do. If you're brand new, here's exactly where to start. First, play through the early tutorial missions slowly. They're specifically designed to teach you nmap, nslookup, and hydra one at a time. Don't rush past them just to get to real missions. Second, get comfortable actually reading command output instead of skimming it. A huge chunk of this game is interpreting information correctly, not just running commands blindly. Third, check your in-game email and messaging apps regularly. Story hints, tips, and mission-relevant information often show up there instead of being spelled out for you directly. Beginner-friendly settings and controls. Since this is fundamentally a typing and terminal-based game, take a minute to get comfortable with the keyboard layout before jumping into anything time-sensitive. There's no controller-driven combat here to worry about. The challenge is entirely mental, so slow down, read carefully, and don't feel pressured to move fast in your first few hours. Resources and currencies. Your main currency is credits, earned by completing missions and contracts. You'll use credits to upgrade your tools and unlock better hacking capabilities as you progress. There's also experience or skill progression tied to actually using your tools effectively, meaning the game rewards you for genuinely understanding what you're doing, not just brute forcing your way through content. Progression and tool upgrades. As you play, your character improves in efficiency and access, meaning scans get faster and more advanced tools and techniques open up over time. Missions scale in difficulty gradually, and later ones expect you to combine multiple tools together instead of relying on just one. There's one mechanic the game never really explains well. A lot of the specific details in missions, like IP addresses, domain names, usernames, and passwords, are randomly generated per playthrough. So if you look up a walkthrough online, don't expect the exact values to match yours. You'll need to apply the method, not copy the specific answer. Understanding the core tools. Let's break down the tools you'll be leaning on constantly. Nmap scans a network to find hosts and open ports. It's usually your very first move on any new target since it tells you what's actually there to attack. nslookup handles DNS queries, helping you resolve domain names into IP addresses and vice versa. Useful when a mission gives you a domain instead of a direct IP. Hydra automates login attempts against services, which is how you'll crack passwords on things like SSH or FTP once you've identified an open port worth targeting. But here's what most beginners completely miss. Later missions expect you to chain these together. Scan first with nmap, resolve anything domain-based with nslookup, then attack the actual open service with Hydra. Treating these as three separate, unrelated tools instead of one connected workflow is where a lot of new players get stuck. As you progress, you'll also run into more advanced tools like WHOIS links, MSF, and SQL map for deeper exploitation and database work, but don't worry about those until the basics feel natural. Best beginner strategies. This next tip will save you hours. Always scan before you act. Every single time. Even if a mission feels straightforward, running nmap first tells you what you're actually walking into. Take notes as you go, especially in longer missions with multiple steps. Because so much of the game's information is randomly generated per save, keeping track of IPs, credentials, and clues you found genuinely matters. You can't just rely on memory or outside guides here. Biggest beginner mistakes. Let's go through what trips up almost every new player. 1. Skipping the tutorial missions because they feel slow, then getting completely lost later. 2. Attacking a target without scanning it first. 3. Misreading command output and acting on wrong information. 4. Copying exact values from online walkthroughs instead of applying the actual method since your IPs and credentials are randomized. 5. Ignoring in-game emails and messages that actually contain mission-relevant hints. 6. Rushing through a system without considering that your actions leave traces. 7. Not taking notes during longer, multi-step missions and losing track of key details. 8. Trying advanced tools like SQL map before understanding the basic of nmap and hydra. 9. expecting fast-paced action gameplay, and getting frustrated when the game rewards patience instead. 10. Not double checking command syntax, since small errors in real world inspired commands can lead to confusing results. If a few of those sound familiar already, don't worry, everyone hits these early on. Advanced mechanics, the game doesn't explain well. A few things worth knowing that HackHub doesn't spell out clearly. Some missions lean into social engineering rather than pure technical hacking. Things like crafting convincing phishing emails. These require attention to detail like matching names and formatting exactly to what the mission expects, and results aren't always instant. So don't assume a mission's broken if a response takes a little while. Also worth knowing, some of the tool command syntax in this game is inspired by real cybersecurity tools, but isn't always a perfect one-to-one match with how they work in reality. If you have real-world experience with these tools, don't be surprised if a flag or option behaves a little differently here than you'd expect. Things worth unlocking first and things to avoid. Prioritize unlocking anything that improves your scanning speed and efficiency early, since scanning is the first step of nearly every mission. Making it faster pays off constantly throughout the whole game. Avoid rushing into high difficulty missions before you're fully comfortable chaining nmap, nslookup, and hydra together. The game's difficulty curve is intentional, and skipping ahead just leads to frustration rather than progress. Frequently asked beginner questions. Quick beginner FAQ. Is it hard? If you've never touched a terminal before, expect a real learning curve, but the tutorial missions ease you in well if you don't skip them. Is it multiplayer? It's primarily single player, but it does include co-op and PvP modes if you want to team up or compete with friends. Does it require real hacking knowledge? Not at all. That's actually the appeal. You learn the tools as you go, and the game is specifically designed to be approachable for people with zero cybersecurity background. Is HackHub worth playing? Let's be honest about this one. The pros, genuinely authentic hacking mechanics, a satisfying aha moment once tools start clicking together, a story with real narrative weight, and a refreshing lack of arcade nonsense. Reviews have been strongly positive, sitting in the high 80s to low 90% range. The cons, it has some rough edges and occasional bugs, and some players with real cybersecurity backgrounds have pointed out that a few tool commands don't perfectly mirror real-world syntax. There's also been some criticism around content depth, which the developers are actively working to expand. If you enjoyed the thoughtful, methodical style of something like Papers, Please, or you've always been curious what real network hacking actually looks like, this is genuinely worth your time. Recent updates beginners should know. Since early access launch, HotBunny has continued actively updating the game based on community feedback, expanding mission variety, and refining systems like multiplayer. Worth checking the update history before diving in, since the game has genuinely changed a fair amount since its January 2026 early access debut. Final thoughts. HackHub rewards patience and curiosity over speed. It's not about reacting fast, it's about actually understanding what you're looking at and making smart decisions with the information in front of you. Take your time with the early missions. The tools genuinely do click into place the more you use them, and that first moment where a scan plan execute sequence just works is honestly one of the more satisfying feelings in any simulation game I've played recently. So tell me, did you play the free demo first? Which tool clicked for you fastest? Nmap, nslookup, or hydra? And how far into the story have you gotten? Drop it in the comments. If this helped you get started, a like goes a long way. And subscribe if you want more HackHub content as the game keeps developing through early access. Alright, go crack your first system. See you in the next one.